Okay, well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our webinar on how to build customer loyalty and drive increased spend without even trying. My name's Ryan Mertz. I'm the General Manager here at Choosy, and I'll be, I guess, moderating today's webinar. Today, I'm also joined by Tim Dillner. He's our product specialist at Choosy, Sarah Franklyn, the Director of Sales and Marketing at Impact Data, and Craig Joel, the founder and MD at Now Book It. So we're really excited to be here today to talk about the importance of customer loyalty and how you can use data to drive it. In today's competitive hospitality industry, it's more important than ever to build relationships with your guests to keep them coming back, and data is key to doing just that. By efficiently collecting and analyzing your data, you can create personalized offers and experiences that will keep your guest coming back for more. In this webinar, we're going to walk through a strategic 4-step guide that will help you transform your data into a powerful tool to foster lasting customer relationships and drive revenue growth. We'll also share some real-world examples of how hotels are using data to build customer loyalty and drive increased revenue. So this is really a informal, as you probably have already gathered, panel discussion. So I do encourage you to participate by asking questions as we go along. There's a little question console on your screen in front of you. As you ask questions, I'll put them to the panel if it makes sense. Otherwise, we might keep some of those until the end, but do please participate. So before we get started, I'd like to give each of our presenters an opportunity to properly introduce themselves and tell you a little about their business and how each of them fits into the hospitality tech ecosystem. So without further ado, meet our presenters. So we've got Tim Dillner from Choosy, a product specialist. Tim, tell us a bit about Choosy and what makes you guys or us different, and how we fit into this ecosystem.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, so, there are a lot of QR code systems out there. Anyone can take an order, but things that are unique to Choosy are our ability that we guarantee no lost orders, which is a huge win for our customers. They guarantee the fact that when that customer places that order, we guarantee it's going to come out of the point of sale. Also, our speed. Customers don't want to spend time going through that process, so we are the fastest in the business, hands down by far. And then also we've got a range of built for hospitality, behind the scenes things to reduce any issues that your staff are going to have. So the Choosy customer is your staff, and then behind the scenes everyone is taken care of with Choosy. Thanks, Tim.
Moving on to Craig.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm the founder and MD or CEO of Now Book It. We're an online reservation system that has a gift cards, events, and CRM attached into it. Our biggest point of difference is probably that we're completely white labeled, unlike every other reservation system in market. So when a restaurateur or hotel is using our software, basically when a consumer is making a reservation with them, they believe that they're doing that with the hotel itself. So we don't sit between the business and its customers, and in fact we allow the restaurants and businesses to keep their data exclusively, which is a pretty big point of difference because most of them share it in some capacity. So it just means that you're building your database very quickly and very efficiently.
And Sarah.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm the Director of Sales and Marketing and Impact Data. We're a hospitality industry veteran, I suppose, 23 years of supporting hospitality businesses through our digital marketing application TalkBox. What we're really about is taking data from someone like Craig and Tim and turning that into actionable insights that drive automated messages to get your customers back. In simple terms, it's more visits more often. We're just really trying to understand when your customer has visited or hasn't visited and make sure that we extract every cent we can out of them for you. We know a lot about the hotel space, having been in this for the full 23 years of the business. And what we know most is that publicans are busy people. And what they like best are partners that do the heavy lifting for them and actually, really work their tech stack together. And that's what we specialize in, is working with partners like Craig and Tim, as I said, to make sure that your business doesn't add complexity, it actually takes it away.
Okay, so moving into the topic of today's session, and I guess step one of our 4-step guide, how to select the right systems to create a robust customer database. A little bit of what you were saying just before, there's a saying that, without the right systems, even the best intentions can fall apart. And when it comes to managing and leveraging customer data, I think we can all agree that we have an idea of the outcome we want to achieve with this data, but there's often unnecessary complexity and unexpected roadblocks that prevent us from achieving those set outcomes. So Sarah, maybe I'll start with you, given that you were mentioning this just before. Why is building a solid customer database so crucial for hoteliers, and what are the things you should prioritize when selecting the right system or tools to create a robust customer database that you can actually then leverage?
Well, bluntly, it's actually something that sits on your balance sheet. A customer database of engaged customers is an enormous asset to any business. And, we're seeing huge record sums paid for pubs. But what we're also seeing is consolidation in the market, where the better publicans are actually building databases of customers that they can talk and perhaps move across their estate. So the first thing is, fundamentally, a customer database is initially an asset. The second part of it, though, is, can you actually talk to them? Do you know anything about them? Are these valuable customers, or are they just a name of someone that you've met once? Like, remember in the old days, we had the business card bowls on every pub bar, right? And that's how you won a free lunch. Is that really a customer database that has value? So when you're choosing the people that you work with upstream of a marketing application like us, ask those really critical questions. And Craig highlighted this before. Who owns my data? Who's got permission to use it? Where's it going to live? And what actual data are you pushing through the different systems across my business? Tim called out before, you guys guarantee the order gets delivered into the POS. So you might not be the POS, in that business, but you're forcing the data through to make sure that customer gets serviced. And that's really the critical thing you've got to think about when you look at systems to drive your business.
Craig, did you have anything you'd like to add to that, Tim? Yeah, firstly, I totally agree with Sarah. I think I often state, as a former restaurant owner myself, and having made a myriad of mistakes as a restaurant owner, customer data specifically is a restaurant's biggest asset. It is probably, aside from the people within your business, it is definitively your biggest asset. It's the only asset in your business that compounds every single day. So if you think about, if I'm open today and I'm getting online reservations, or in the case of Tuesday, we're taking online orders or order at table, I'm getting customer data every single day that's giving me the ability. It's like this pot of gold that you're just putting all these little coins in every single day. And I think there's in my opinion, I believe that there's been a little bit of a lax approach to that with restaurateurs in the past. I think they're starting to realize how powerful and impactful it can be, because it's not just about being able to email people and get them to return. It's about personalization. It's about enhancing guest experiences. It's increasing revenue. It's giving you operational being able to streamline your operations, and personalization, particularly as Sarah said, one of the things that we can collate from our booklet is just simply what people have had to drink and to eat, and then we can pass that on to Sarah, and then they can email people that have done certain things. But in venue, even can you imagine just being at a pub? If you were sitting at a pub and you come in pretty regularly and you drink Peroni as an example, and then someone comes up to your table when you're having dinner, you just get sat down and said, "Oh, would you like to start with a Peroni, mate?" You'd be like, "Whoa!" You'd be blown away. And good enough is not good enough anymore. I think all hotels and restaurants have to go above and beyond the expectation of their consumers to be better than the guy next door, because everyone's good.
And so in really simple terms, obviously we've got the applications that are presenting today, or the people from the applications that are presenting today. But I guess In a nirvana state in a hospitality venue, Craig, you're sort of from the industry, been in it for a long time. What are I guess the bare minimum that you would expect a hotelier to have in place to, I guess, capture customer data and start creating this database?
Well, I think having systems like Choosy itself is obviously a great start, because it's giving some operational streamline approach. It's also I believe that you've got a similar approach to us when it comes to the data and allowing the venues to own the data, and I think that's incredibly important. It's probably the most important factor when choosing any partner, for that matter, in hospitality and particularly within tech. And for us, obviously we're a reservation system, and obviously very biased about my reservation system. But I believe that with a reservation system as well, that coupled, you're collecting data at every single point. So enabling yourself to work with partners that give you the data and then translate that data into something digestible, which is what Sarah's business does. You've sort of got this closed ecosystem of automation. I mean, we're in a bit of a dire straits at the minute with respect to staffing. I mean, I don't know a state that I've traveled to that says there's not enough people around. And as a result of that, when you look at the three of our systems, when they're unified, you're creating a lot of operational success. And I believe that it's also giving you the ability to continue to drive revenue, continue to drive sales. And there's a lot of sayings about how it's 7 times more expensive to get a new customer than it is to get an existing one. Well, with us and the way that we're all collectively generating this data and passing it through impact data, it makes a hell of a lot of sense to be targeting those customers that are already at our venues.
Can I just add, Ryan, one of the things that has changed when partners like us come together is that pubs can now compete with clubs. In the old days, clubs had a really sophisticated membership program. It's usually linked to their gaming or, something like that. And so really it was the membership program that was considered the customer database. And that was really what was driving all of their personalization and their marketing and things like that. Pubs, by the nature of people like us who go to the pub for a beer and a quiet chat with our mates and maybe go and watch, play trivia or something like that, we don't traditionally join loyalty programs in pubs. They just haven't been as common. What Choosy and now Book It do is give you, when we combine these two things together, they give you everything you need to run a fully fledged loyalty program without the overhead of points. And that is a game changer for pubs. And if they haven't realized it yet, guys, get on the phone to Craig and Tim, because that's what changes the game. When you know who your customer is and you know how much they've spent, and when they've come back, you've got a loyalty program. And you don't have to put that, those points towards keeping them turning over, because we can use vouchers to drive that visitation and things like that. So this is the game changer that pubs really can embrace without any behavior change from customers. And that's what's exciting when partners like us unify and come together.
Okay, so moving along, I guess you have the right systems in place now, and you're now able to efficiently collect this customer data, and you're creating this customer database. What are some of the ethical considerations to keep in mind when you're gathering and owning data, and why is it essential to ensure that you have permission to use your customer data? I know a lot of publicans out there or people on this webinar, they hear the word spam, or they hear about privacy policies, or it's a bit of a gray area for a lot of people, right? So maybe we can sort of debunk some of the myths and make it simple for people to understand what they need to be doing to keep their head above water and do the right thing.
Tim, do you want to kick off? Because you often start.
Yeah, that's the fun. Yeah, we're the first point in the process, really. So we tackle this in a two-pronged thing. So first of all, we have a technology called ID-free technology, where our statistics are saying that 90% of people are using a digital wallet to transact through Choosy, and that's Apple Pay or Google Pay. Now everyone has already opted into those systems with all personal information, and so what we do is we actually wait to the very end to actually get any data, because because 9 out of 10 times we're not going to need to ask them for a name or an email or a phone number. And then we're literally giving them the option to untick a box to say, basically don't store this, I don't want to be contacted in the future. Most people, because we're offering promotions, etc., they will actually leave that ticked in. So, 90% of your customers are going to come through, not even ever have to type any personal information in, and get a 4-click, 10-second checkout process. And then we're then obviously feeding that through to impact data. So, that's a big part of it as well. And then what we're also doing with that data is, we're using it for a one-time event where we're going to put the name on the docket. We haven't asked them for their name, but we're going to surprise them and come out and go, hey, Tim, you ordered a bowl of chips, and so it's kind of like we're using all the power of things that we've got access to, but again, giving the customer the ability to say, if you want us to use this again, it's up to you. Give them the full control over it.
And I think another important point, I think Craig mentioned it before, is that one of the fundamental differences with Choosy as a platform, and decision Choosy made very early on, is that yes, we are a platform in the truest sense of the word, a SaaS solution, but unlike some of our competitors, our customers own their data. So when a patron enters a venue and they use the Choosy app, it's personalized to that venue with their branding, with their colors. From a consumer's perspective, they're purchasing that beer from, Acme & Co., not from Choosy. And all the messaging that they get is from Acme & Co., not from Choosy. So we're a tool being leveraged by the business, but we're not, building a customer database of our own that we're cross-marketing to. And therefore, when someone, uses a Choosy checkout, that venue is not at risk of their customer being cross-sold or upsold by another venue, which ultimately means that they own their data and own their customer, which, as we said, is a valuable
really
asset.
Good point of difference too, Ryan. I think that's it's incredibly important to the publicans that are out there. It's a really, really valid point. And we were in a similar boat. We have a process where we're supplying software to a business. As a consumer, they come through a reservation platform. They're making a reservation where they believe is going to be at the venue. They tick to accept the terms and conditions of being sent marketing options and visiting these sites and services. And as a result of that, they're implying that they're giving their consent. I think it's really important that if you're looking at a platform, that you're knowing and understanding how the consent's been given and what you can utilize. There's a lot of platforms out there that say, yeah, you can, you've got the data, you might have the data, but can you use the data? They're two very big points of difference there. Is if you might be able to collect the data, but can you actually market to those individuals? Because there's a lot of products out there that say that you own it and you can have it, but you can't utilize it, and it's basically worthless.
And just further to that point, there's been a couple of fairly big prosecutions recently around privacy laws. One of the people in our space was fined a pretty significant amount of money with their email marketing. And that is because they just didn't have an opt-out opportunity for the consumer. And so this is another element to this. The upstream tech providers like NowBookit and Choosy do a really great job of ensuring that you have the correct permission. By the time it flows into a marketing application like Impact Data's Talkbox, we reflect that marketing permission. So we know that customer has opted in, and therefore we're only talking to the ones that are opted in. If that customer then opts out on our platform, that's it. They don't hear from us again. But they might come back in via Choosy or NowBookit and resubscribe, and then we would honor that change. So it's really about understanding how these subscription patterns work, making sure that your partner is actually doing best practice. So in our business, we work in the UK. So at the moment, for a very long time, the Australian legislation was the toughest. It's just been superseded by the UK legislation, and it's about to be superseded again by the Canadian legislation. And in our business, we will make sure that we follow the absolute pinnacle of privacy legislation, because our job as your SaaS partner, as we all are, is to actually ensure that you have the best possible protection from what we're doing on your behalf, and making sure that we are only instituting best practice. So, honoring that subscription status, whether it's subscribed or unsubscribed, is so really important. But as both Craig and Tim said, it starts with actually you owning permission to market to that customer. And if you don't, what is so important about that technology that supersedes gathering an asset that sits on your bottom line? So that's the question you have to really ask yourself, is why would I choose a partner where I can't own my own customer? That's my perception of the, obviously downstream, because we want to help you market to them.
And I think, like you said too, a relevant point relating to impact data and other email marketing or marketing automation solutions, that they do handle that unsubscribe process and list for you. Yeah. And then maintain that. Often as a small business or as a business, you'll be changing CRMs, or you'll be changing POS solutions, you'll be changing systems, and you might lose that unsubscribe list, and that can be really damaging for your business if you suddenly start going marketing to those customers that have unsubscribed. So another benefit of using a marketing automation solution, not only for the deliverability, because that's a really important one too, is that they'll make sure that the marketing that you send out to your customers actually hits the mailbox, but they're also managing the data in a way that is ethical and legal at the end of the day. So that's good points. Okay, so step 3, connecting your data. So I guess a question for the panel, which is, how can integrating data from different sources amplify your understanding of customer behavior, and what are some of the challenges or concerns that our audience should be aware of when trying to connect different data points? And a lot of people talk about and I'll just preface this with, a lot of people talk about like integration, right? And you'll often go to a SaaS platform's website, and they'll have a list of integrations that they have, and only do you find out that it's through a middleware that barely talks to the solution, and it's a one-way connection and ultimately never works. So it's really important, I think, to understand that there's integration and then there's integration. So I don't know if you can remember my question at the start, but how can integrating data from different sources amplify your understanding of customer behavior, and what are the challenges or concerns our audience should be aware of when trying to connect different data points?
Maybe I'll start, because I think on the start of the whole journey. So what we initially came up with at Choosy was the ID free. We're going to give everyone the ability to choose whether or not we save their data. And then we started collecting all this data, and we had this, these amazing lists of all these customers with all this information. But then it's, what do you do with that data? It has to go somewhere. So, version 1 was, let's export it through, CSV file, and then we'll go take it somewhere else, and then we'll go, and then you can market it that way. And everyone came back to us, that's really great, I can see the value in it, but I don't have time to do it. So what we've come up with now is a way that your customers can use Choosy, can come through without even signing any information, and then literally that data, once they've placed their sale, that gets sent through to impact data with all of that personal information. What have they purchased, any special tags and promotions that you're actually looking at, and then that is literally just passed all through, basically wrapped up in a big bow through to impact data. And then the venue at that point hasn't had to do anything, the customer hasn't had to do anything, and then it's basically up to Sarah and her team to then go, what do you want to do with that data? And that's where I'll hand it over to Sarah.
I reckon, Craig, you might want to jump in here, because we catch all of the data. So I reckon, a good way is how you connect in that mix as well before.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. I think, when a venue is using us, typically they're making a reservation at the very beginning, and then we're obviously, once they've dined, we're pushing that information into our account with impact data, or the venue's account with impact data. And there's data that we're pushing through now is relevant to the sales. So what happens if you have a POS integration? We're pulling the sales data from the POS, pushing that into the customer's CRM. So we can see that this is John Smith. He spends an average of $150 a day. He's been to the venue 6 times. His next booking is in 3 weeks. he drinks Chardonnay, eats fish, and all that information is then sent along with tags. If the venue wants to put any specific tags next to them, like they're a wine enthusiast or they're a VIP, that can get pushed through into Impact Data every night. So nightly at about midnight, we push all that data through to Impact, and then it just sets up this huge flow of automations that can transpire. So you could just be sitting in your bed at night as a publican, and your emails can just be, being sent out promoting your venue.
Sounds so exciting.
Yeah, because someone's there's an automation that's been set up, and then someone's come into the venue and they haven't made a booking for 3 months, so it's saying, hey mate, you need to get back into the venue. Here's a complimentary glass of sparkling or whatever it is. But there's lots of different opportunities there to drive repeat visitation and close the loop, and it's really hands off. So in a day and age where we're struggling to get people, when you combine what Choosy are doing with their data and pushing it in, what we're doing with the customer data that's making reservations or online reservations particularly, and then we're pushing that through to Impact Data, you're getting this closed loop between the three bits of technology here. And as I said, you can be sitting in bed and the business can pretty much be marketing itself. So it's pretty unique.
I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty sexy. I have to say, when it comes to us, real life example, Craig made a booking for him and his partner, came in, used the Choosy platform to order all of their dinner because they brought the kids along as well. All of a sudden, when Craig's details land in TalkBox, we know what day of the week, what dinner service he selected, what service he selected, how many people he made the booking for, and then when it matches overnight with the Choosy data, we know exactly how much he spent. So all of a sudden, we've got some really rich data. Then, because we've got a Choosy voucher, if he doesn't come back or we know it's his birthday, we can invite him back for that glass of wine. This is all hands-free, and this is because I think, Ryan, you mentioned this at the beginning. Not all integrations are created equal, and that is not something as a publican I expect you to have to think about, because it's actually our job. But what you do have to consider is interrogate the people that you're thinking about bringing into your business and ask them how it works, not that it works, how it works. And maybe ask to talk to some other businesses that they work with, so you get that reference point and say, hey, Joe over here at the Royal Hotel in Ipswich, does that really work the way that they said it's going to work? Please do that interrogation, because I know the three of us are going to stand up and say, we don't do what we say, we only do what we say we can do. But it's really important that actually does deliver what you say, what it says it's going to deliver, in that seamless way, because we're really about taking work off you, not adding work to you. And what we do with the connection of the data from Choosy and now Book It, we've analyzed, I think we looked at it the other day, it's getting up close to 1 million promotions that we've analyzed, and we actually know what drives a customer back into your venue. The triggers that work. Great news, if you didn't know this already, people spend 37% more when they're celebrating. So if you don't know their birthday, let's find out when it is, because you want that birthday booking. You want them to come and, even if they're not paying for everyone on the Choosy platform, buy everyone a round of drinks to celebrate my big 50th that I had a few months ago. So, those important data points that keep enriching the data really work, and we can connect the dots with your marketing application. But choose your partners wisely and understand how the data flows between systems. And I mean, I'm talking from a marketing perspective, but we've all worked in hospitality, and I know, and Tim, you mentioned this right at the kickoff, one of the biggest issues I have as a consumer is I've sat there and I've ordered at the table because I'm too lazy to get up off my bum because I'm talking to someone, and my drink doesn't come. Like that's going to really make me more angry than getting off my bum the first time to go and get the drink. So the fact that, your connection is pushing through to POS as a consumer makes me know, well, that's it. I'm having the experience that I came to get, and that's what's important.
And I think you've just really gone into sort of step 4 a little bit, lots of good examples of what can be achieved when you're capturing and storing and using your customer data properly. But why is it valuable for hotel ears to select, I guess, or seek out external expertise or collaboration when leveraging their data. I can talk on Choosie's part a bit about this. I mean, I didn't come from the hospitality industry before I sort of got involved with Choosie. I was working with a scale-up SaaS e-commerce platform, and every one of the customers we sold to, they had technologists in their business. So it was really hands-off onboarding. We could trust that the customer was going to implement the system properly, that it was going to be used properly, and that they were going to get value from the solution because they had the people in their business to operate it. Come into Choosie land or hospitality land, I learned very quickly that it's actually really hard to scale a technology business in the hospitality space, because unlike traditional markets that I've operated in, you guys don't have the people in your business to operate the platform, right? You don't have the technologists. You've got great bar staff and you've got great hospitality people, and you're all great hospitality people, but you're not technologists at heart. And so it's really hard for you to find the time, let alone the expertise in your business, to implement these solutions to give you the outcomes as a business owner that you want. And so Choosie's actually made the decision not to try be the fastest growing SaaS at-table ordering platform in the world, chasing giant valuations, but instead to run a sustainable business that services our customers properly with what we call white glove service. So, we have people come on site and set up the system for you, make sure that it's working, and then you get assigned a customer success manager for life who, is continuously checking in and making sure that the system is set up correctly. In addition to that, we actually manage the entire menu build process, setting up your promotions, and then integrating with the other solutions in our ecosystem like Impact Data. So we don't even expect you to know what an integration is, what an API key is, how to map fields. That's all done for you. And it's a fundamental difference between what we do and what some of the other players in the market do, who have very different business models, which are trying to grow at astronomical rates to satisfy shareholders. So yeah, that's my view on it, but over to the panel.
Well, I have a perfect, go Craig.
I was just going to say what he said. Can I just say what he said? It's quite unbelievable, Ryan. I knew that there was a lot of synergies between our business, but it's virtually identical. I mean, our business is growing quite rapidly, predominantly from word of mouth, and there was a few economic factors that enabled us to grow quickly. But we have a very similar approach. We're very hands-on. We onboard all of our people face-to-face, unless they request that it's not done that way, or that they live in some remote part of the country, which has happened. We've had a few people in some pretty weird places where we haven't had staff to be able to get out there. But we have a similar approach. And I think, we've talked about, I think at length about how the cycle works with the businesses that we're involved with Choosie and with Impact Data. But I really think that, if you're partnering with the three of us, there's obviously opportunity for a lot of success. And I think with Sarah's automations and that closed loop of just getting all this data into one spot and utilizing it in an effective way, just makes it so easy for publicans to continue to operate, and it just makes sense. I mean, I know that Sarah said it sounds really sexy, and she's really stoked about it. It is. I mean, it really is a no-brainer for a lot of businesses when they start to see the ROI. And I know that Sarah and I have done a number of case studies together that have been incredibly successful, and be happy to share with anyone who's interested in seeing some of those.
Wow, absolutely. We've got a pub group that Craig and I are working on here in Melbourne. I think they've got 6 hotels. For many, many years, they had a loyalty program, and they had 3,000 people in their database that they could contact. They added Now Book It at our suggestion a few months ago. They've added 8,000 people that they can contact. They sent out a Father's Day email yesterday to 4 times the size of their database. So I can guarantee that those bookings are going to go through the roof, and they'll be chockers for Father's Day because they own their data. They've got the right partnerships because we've been able to push all their data so that they can just, from a click of a button, send out their email to everybody in their database. And that's a game changer for pubs. To quadruple the size of your database just by choosing the right partner, that is enormous. Another example that Craig mentioned, we've just run a case study on a Sydney restaurant. They were using vouchers to incentivize revisits, which is exactly what we can do with the Choosy guys. $7,500 a month in additional sales. Now, they were mostly reactivating lost customers, getting a second visit, because we know from the data that we see from everybody that up to 80% of customers don't have a second visit, and celebrating birthdays. Those 3 automations drove $7,500 of extra sales for a restaurant, single site in Sydney. There's no reason why you can't have that in your business. So leverage, I'm a big fan of that word. It's all well and good to push data, and we work with some pretty big organizations, big QSR brands, some pretty big clubs, and they drown in data. They have so much of it, they don't know what to do with it. Choose someone who actually can weave their way through that for you and actually do something with it that's going to drive your business. In the case of Craig, you had a great example the other day of when you were talking about bookings and making sure that people had confirmed. That's next level. Do you want to chat to that? Because that was such a great example.
Sorry, Sarah, can you repeat that? Because I sort of dropped. I think I dropped out for a minute there.
The other day when we were talking, you mentioned how much a business saves with confirming bookings by not having to ring up.
Yeah, I mean, operationally, it's something that's really simple that a lot of people don't think about. But we, through our texting service, we use a third party. And sometimes when we're setting up restaurants, they'll say to us, "Oh, yeah, we want to confirm the bookings, and how do you do it now?" And they'll say, "Oh, well, we get on the phone and we put someone aside and they ring every booking to confirm." And I said, "Well, when you're doing it with us, you can turn on the SMSs, and it's really reasonable. It's 3 cents a text to confirm a reservation." Now, when we turn those features on, basically the system will send an email first, and 50% of people will confirm via email. But when you turn the text on as well, so that if I haven't confirmed my booking and then I get a text shortly after that says, "Hey, we need you to confirm your booking," 99% of customers confirm their bookings when they're combined together. And it's 3 cents a text. Now, that means for 100 reservations at a busy restaurant to confirm in a night, it's going to cost you $3. And we were saying, how much money is it going to cost you to confirm all those reservations if you've got someone standing there? I don't know how many calls they're going to make, 100 calls in how many minutes, but it's going to be a hell of a lot more than $3. So just those simple automations and those simple things that can streamline your business and save you some significant money.
Absolutely.
I think something that we haven't really touched on, but it's probably also relevant to this topic is the ability to now really measure the return on investment when it comes to some of these campaigns that you're running, specifically when you have these connected systems. So, for example, and Sarah's mentioned it before with vouchers and how it integrates with Choosy. So, unlike some other systems, you don't have to go and pre-create vouchers in Choosy or in your POS. The impact data system is integrated in such a way that will automatically generate unique personalized vouchers in the Choosy platform and send those to your customers. And when a customer redeems those vouchers, you're able to then report on that redemption and therefore measure the true ROI of a campaign, which is really important. It's super hard to attribute spend when it comes to digital marketing.
That's awesome, yeah.
It's a real pain, to be honest. And it's a huge benefit of this integration and connection. And it's actually got the interest of F&B brands who partner with Choosy as well, because suddenly now they can promote their product and get the data that they've always lacked. They've often, and I'm sure a lot of the attendees can attest to this, F&B brands giving you money to spend on promotions, whether that be bar mats or whatever, right? But it's very hard for them to attribute that spend and actually gather a true ROI. And now this is possible and therefore far more meaningful as well.
Well, I'm laughing, Ryan, because in my days at Tabcorp, which probably when you were still in primary school, we had that exact issue with CUB, who gave us $400,000 worth of beers, which was wonderful. But my God, the sending out of the vouchers was a disaster. How did we actually measure how much they spent? How did we reconcile it against the point of sale? There were little pieces of paper going everywhere. How did we pay the venue back from their CUB account? All of that sort of stuff was an absolute nightmare. And the biggest issue that publicans had in those days was they were concerned that people would rot the system, and they would, print off that same voucher 600 times and never pay for another beer, right?
Yeah.
Let's be honest, because we've all thought of it, right? Let's be honest. By having partners like us who work together, as we've talked about many times today, when you get all those systems right, those pain points go away. It's a single use voucher to a single person that they can redeem only once, and then we can see what they spent on top of it. So we can prove to you that actually those campaigns are driving that a visit that wasn't going to happen, or we've driven an ATV, we've increased the size of your basket, or even, and this is one of the things we love to do with the data that Craig gives us, is we move people to off-peak times. We try and we get those Thursday, Friday people into early week, because that's when you've got staff standing around polishing glasses, when really what they want to be doing is pouring beer. So because we can leverage the data, the consumption period data we see from both Choosy and now Book It, we can use that to pick up people and move them to a different time time zone, which can be much more profitable for you as a business. You're usually happy to give away a free beer to get Tim and his family in on a Tuesday. You're less happy to do that on a Friday.
Yeah. Tim, anything else to add on this particular topic?
Sarah's summed it up nicely, where sometimes we go putting out these promotions and vouchers, get everyone in, but there's no point when you can't actually fit them in, and having the ability to actually shoot these things out and say, hey, if you come in between this hour and this hour on this certain day and order this product here that we really want you to order, then you're going to get your promotion. And then with the information that we're passing through to impact data, they're able to see, oh, they came in and they did order this specific thing that we wanted, but look at all this other stuff they ordered too. And so just that ability to really almost puppeteer when your customers come in and what they purchase is really powerful.
Okay, great. Well, that brings us to the end of our 4-step guide. We do have time for some questions and answers. If any of the attendees would like to ask them, there's a webinar chat and a Q&A in front of you. I haven't seen any questions come through. I did have one to kick things off, though, which is, we talked a lot about capturing customer data. What is another data point to capture outside of customer data that can be relevant to the audience?
Well, from our perspective, did they visit? We really, once we've got someone's name, we need to know when they came in last. That's the next most, that visitation data, and the recency and frequency of that is what drives an automated engagement program, which is what we deliver when we bring our 3 partnerships together. Just knowing someone's name is only half the story. It's actually really their behavior that changes the game in terms of what Craig mentioned before, which was personalization. Giving me the best possible experience with the Royal Hotel in Ipswich means you really do need to know a little bit more about my visitation and when I came.
Yeah, I think I would agree with that too. I think visitation is probably the number one data point, after obviously getting the customer's name and details, and then for us at Now Book It, following it would probably be that personalization piece that Sarah just mentioned again, and understanding what their purchasing habits are. I think there's nothing better than I love personally when someone, I'm on a plane or I'm at a restaurant and someone comes over and makes me feel special by people don't often make me feel special, so when they do, I get pretty excited about it. But someone just saying to me, oh, you had this wine in here last time, or I fly a lot, unfortunately, and often the Qantas person will come over to me and just welcome me on board and give me a newspaper and do some things. So I think that's that's going above and beyond, and I think that's the expectation. That's now the norm, the new norm.
Sorry, So a big part that we a lot of our customers really like as well is not only just when did they come in, what did they buy, but how was the experience as well. And so the ability that actually, once they get that email, the next day saying, hey, thanks for coming in, how did we do 1 to 5? And then if it's a 5, we can then say, hey, why don't you go off and tell everyone about it in Google, and we direct them off there, knowing that the overwhelming odds are that it will be a really good review. Or the other side of it, it might be a 1 or a 2, which means they're never going to come back. And that's where we can then shoot them a voucher to say, hey, sorry about that experience, how about you give us another go, come in for a free entree or a free main. And so you potentially then turn them from, we've captured them the next day, so the amount of people they're going to tell about the potential bad experience will be minimal, and then we're going to go, let's have another go. So we're going to get them to come in again and maybe win them over and go, maybe it was just a once off. And so customers really love that fact that, once they leave, you don't really know, unless it was a really bad experience, they're not going to tell you. But a lot of these people that sit in the middle that are on the fence, this voucher to come back is just that little nudge that they need to come back.
Yeah, not everyone throws a cheeseburger at you, which is what happened to me when I was a Mayor's chick. He really wasn't happy with that last one. Yeah, it was pretty damning. But I mean, you're so right, Tim. Once we know that they've visited, we really want to know how they felt. Because that's what we're all in the hospo business. We want to make sure that people feel like they're taken care of. And some of our tech partnerships like us can do that for you and really give you not just insightful marketing data, but insightful operational data. We've got a venue in Melbourne, and she puts a request for feedback in every welcome message. So every new customer that signs up is asked for feedback. And this venue manager looks very, very closely at those scores. And she goes and celebrates the team member that signed up, people that are giving, the best scores, and coaches the team members that are signing up customers that didn't have the best scores. Because, what she's trying to do is say that I need consistency in my operations because I'm not here 24/7. And having that insight from that customer feedback is so valuable in that regard. Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have any other questions to answer, so we might just wrap up there and maybe get a final thought from each of you, a gold nugget for people to go home with.
Gold nugget.
Yeah.
Go on, Craig.
I think I've given all my gold nuggets away. I mean, for me,
one thing they should take away from the webinar then.
Well, I just think, for me, I think it's all about, in this instance, it's about making sure that you've got solid partnerships, that you're understanding the benefits of the businesses that you're working with and the pitfalls. And we all have pitfalls, including now Book It. We don't do everything. We don't profess to do everything, but the things that we do, we do well. And I think that it's really important that, again, I just want to emphasize how important data is. I don't think there's an understanding of how important it is. We did a survey. I would have thought it would be about 2 years ago. It was just understanding the value of every name that a restaurant didn't get, and it worked out to be about $30 you were throwing away every time that you did not take a name down, based on an average restaurant seeing 3 people per reservation at $100 a head. That's what it equated to, which is substantial. So I think it's if my takeaway was just start compiling the data and using it, use something like impact data that you can utilize that data effectively with. That would be my takeaway. It's not so gold, but it's sort of maybe slightly silver.
I suppose my takeaway, or my real strong recommendation, every business owner deserves to have the best in breed technology that suits their business. And the temptation sometimes is to go with an all-in-one solution because that's easier. Interrogate your partners and say, can I have the best in breed at every step of the process? And will they work together to give me a compound value solution, rather than me having to go to one partner that just does everything okay? So can you, have the best of both worlds? And I think hopefully you've heard from us today. We know you can, because the three of us have worked really hard to integrate our data sets and our businesses. So you can have the best reservation platform, the best order at table platform, and the best automated retention program. And each of us stick to our guns and be the best of what we are. But we work together to give you, 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3 in our instance. It equals much, much more than that. And that is one thing I think businesses deserve to have.
Mm.
My last nugget is to keep it easy. So we're all about ordering at table is meant to be easy, but when you start putting barriers up, like I just want to order a beer, but I need a phone number, I need an email, it suddenly doesn't become easy. And that's the same thing with the integration when you need to do things in the middle to actually work with that data, and it's not easy, and when things aren't easy, they don't get done. So the whole flow is, I can come into a venue, I can order a beer, I haven't typed anything in, the next day I get a voucher to say, hey, thanks for coming in, why don't you come back and have and have another beer? And suddenly no human has touched that whole thing on the whole way through. Yeah, the customer is very likely to come back and go again. And so it's easy.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was a good one to end on. So thanks all of our presenters for giving up your time today, and also obviously to our attendees, thanks for attending. We have recorded today's session, and no doubt Sarah will work her magic and will be out in the ether soon. But yeah, thanks for joining us, and thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Everyone.